In this video I'm going to tell you how to use Photoshop and its main functions. This video is for beginners and I try to explain the basics of using this program, which will help us to work there in the future. Another video, which is called How to install the Photoshop, is located in the Programs folder. First of all, the interface of the Photoshop is divided into three parts. On the top are main parameters and under them are additional parameters which we are going to use. On the left side is Tools panel, which we use to work with the images itself, for example, tools like brushes, move tool, gradient, etc. On the right side is another additional panel which we can use. Before we start working in the Photoshop, I recommend you to set it up properly. If for some reason you don't have the additional panel on the right, you can go to the main parameters, click Window and choose any of available parameters. If I click on Options or Tools, the panels will appear and disappear and it gives you an opportunity to set up your Photoshop yourself. We are going to need some of them. The first is the Layers tab, which you can find on the right additional panel and which you can drag out of it to make it easier to work with. Also, you can find it in the main parameters by clicking on the window. We will also need a History tab and Navigator tab, which can be found in the same place as the Layers tab. You can also adjust them whatever you like them to be. Yet we don't have any picture in Photoshop. There are some methods to import the picture. The first one is to go to the main parameters, click File and select New. The window can be different, but the options will be the same. Here we can see the resolution options. First of all, we need to set the resolution up to the 72,55. You can note this number because you will often need it in the future. Now we can change the measurement to millimeters and set the width to the 300 and height to 210. After that we click Create. You can create as much working areas as you want. I personally prefer dragging out each one of them in order to make it easier to switch among them. For extra convenience, we can add rulers to your working areas. You can do that by going to the main parameters, click View and choose Rulers. Now you can see the rulers, but make sure that you've set it up to the millimeters. Now I will show you how to import the picture itself to Photoshop. I have this random photo from the internet, but you can find any picture yourself. Right click on the picture, copy image, go to the Photoshop, choose your working area and press Ctrl+V. As you can see, the resolution of the image doesn't fit to the working area. We can fix this by right clicking on the picture and choose Free Transform. You can only see the left corner of the picture and it is not very convenient. You can go to the navigator and reduce the scale of your picture. Now you can see all four corners. Drag the bottom left corner in order to fit the resolution in. If you want to change the proportions of the picture, press Shift. As soon as you fixed the resolution, double click or press Enter to accept the changes. Then you go back to the navigator and scale your picture back to normal. There is another method of importing the picture. First of all, since we already have the picture in our Photoshop, you need to hide it in order to try another method. Just go to the Layers tab and click on the tiny eye here, which will hide your layer. Then you need to save the picture to your computer. Search in Google for any pictures you like and save it. I've already done that and have the picture on my desktop, but you can save it wherever you want. When you finish downloading, you go to the Image folder, choose your picture and drag it into Photoshop. As you can see, the resolution doesn't perfectly fit, but you can easily adjust it. To accept the changes, right click or press Enter. But there is a problem with this method of importing. As you can see on the Layers tab, the layer becomes Smart Object Thumbnail instead of normal layer. You can fix it by right clicking on this layer and click Rasterize Layer and it's done. It is a normal layer now that you can work with as usual. But there is one more method of importing the picture. We need to hide the second layer again in the Layers tab. For example, you didn't create a new working area in Photoshop. You can just go to your Image folder, choose your picture and drag it into Photoshop as you have done it before. As you can see, the picture doesn't have a proper size because we didn't choose the right format earlier. The size is too big and we need to adjust it. There are some ways of doing it. The first one is to go to the main parameters, click Image and choose Image Size. This variant isn't ideal and now I'll explain why. First we change the resolution to 72,55. Then we choose millimeters for width and height. Make it 300 for width and here's the problem. Since the picture doesn't have the right format itself, we can't adjust our width and height as we want. So we have to choose the height and make it 210. The width is going to be a little bigger than 300. If for some reason you have black bars on the right and left sides of your picture, like you can see on this example, you can fix it by going to the main parameters again, clicking image and choosing canvas size. In the new window, you change the width to 300 and click OK. Photoshop will warn you that it is going to cut some parts of your picture because the anchor point of it is in the middle, and that's why the right and left sides are going to be cut down. Click Proceed. This method is not that good, because sometimes you want to adjust your picture more precise. For example, you want to put the face in the middle of the picture and remove useless free space on the left side. So, now we go to the History tab and undo our changes by choosing the image size. We can cut down the sides in another way, which is more right. In order to do it, you go to Layers tab, right click on your layer and choose Duplicate Layer and click OK. Now we have two identical layers. Then we go to the main parameters, click Image and choose Canvas size. Change the width to 300, click OK and proceed. The sides are going to be cut down, but now we can adjust our picture as we like. We just right click on the picture and choose Free Transform. Next step is the skin. If you enlarge the picture, you can see some pixels on the skin, which don't look great. We can fix this and make the picture look better. We need to return to the layer in which end of our picture. Also as layer in case we want to start again. And now we work and strength. Make the hardness 0% and the strength there. You can see the changes. There's one thing that I want to tell you about. You should be very careful while working. You should be very careful while working. If you draw with it on your you can use square brackets on your keyboard. It is very convenient. You can also make the eyes smoother with this tool. Don't forget about the teeth as well. Make it overlay, choose brush tool and choose the white color. Make your teeth whiter. It looks better, isn't it? Next step is the skin. Enlarge the picture, you can see some pixels. If you enlarge the you can see some pixels. You can also change the size of your text of our picture. Also as I have said before, we can make a layer if we want to start again. And now we work with Blur tool. Its properties are similar to the brush tool. If I draw on the face with this tool, you can see the thing that I want to tell you about this tool. You should be very careful. There are some layers besides the normal layers with boxes, text, pictures and paintings, which don't display visually and don't have anything painted on that. However, these layers show particular features in relation to layers below them. These are filters which are placed among the layers and they are applied to the whole picture and help us make specific effects. I will tell more about the filters later, and now it is just going to be a quick review. For example, I take the filter Hue and Saturation. This layer is transparent and has nothing painted on it. If you scroll the slider, the color saturation of the picture will change, so as other layers, such as text and rectangular. If we change the color of the rectangular to red, it will be clearer to see the changes. Scroll the slider again and adjust your saturation as you want. If I put another rectangular, it is going to be above the filter and won't change its color because it isn't attached to it. You can only change the color yourself. Besides all, the layers have a specific feature. The layers can be imposed differently above one another, and I'm going to show it. Click the new layer. This is a new layer, empty and transparent. Just a normal layer. Go to the Tools panel on the left and choose Brush tool. Choose the size of it as you want and make it wide so we can clearly see it on the picture. Now draw something on your picture. By default, the layers are stacked one by one with normal blending mode. It means that the layer is not transparent and doesn't have special features. It is like drawing something on the glass. We can't see anything but what we have drawn. We can also change the opacity of the layer. Click on opacity and scroll the slider to change it. We can do it more or less opaque, depends on what you need it to be. And there's one more feature that allows to change the blending mode of the layers. By default, it is normal mode. Some of them are visible and some of them are not. If we choose an overlay mode, it is going to be different from the normal mode. As you can see, the layer with the white drawings becomes different. With overlay mode on, this layer is going to emphasize and increase all white areas under it on our picture. Moreover, we can change the opacity as well. We will need this blending mode in the future. If during your work with the picture one of the layers is locked, you need to unlock it because Photoshop doesn't allow you to work with this layer anymore. Simply click on the little lock on the layer and it's done. If you have some additional signs on your layer, right-click on it and choose Rasterize Layer. It will remove all signs and make it a normal layer. Now I'm going to explain the Tools panel. The first tool we need is Rectangular Marquee tool. As I've said already, we use this tool if we need to edit our picture's resolution by choosing Free Transform. Also, we need Brush tool. If you don't see the Brush tool, you can right-click on it to see additional tools. All we need just Brush tool. On the top additional panel, we can see additional properties of the brush. The first one is size and hardness of the brush. I can show you how it works. Create a new layer. You can choose any color of the brush. If you set your hardness to 0%, the brush works like a spray with a smooth outline. If you set the hardness to maximum, the outline is going to be sharp. We can also change the opacity of the brush. You can scroll the slider to change the opacity. If I set it low, we can barely see the drawings. The other properties we don't need right now, and I will tell you about them in the next videos. The name of it speaks for itself. We can also change the size and hardness of eraser. When you choose the size, click on the layer which you want to erase on and remove everything you don't need. The next tool is text. As I've shown already, we can apply text on our picture. There are some properties for text that we can change. First of all, it is a font. We can choose one from the various of fonts suggested by Photoshop. You can change the color of your text as well. Also, you can choose the size of it by choosing the number or by scrolling right and left. Text orientation can be changed as well. One more tool is foreground and background color settings. The foreground color is for the tool you are using right now. For example, if you choose brush, you can change the color at any time. Sometimes we will need to change the angle of the picture. For example, the picture was taken sideways and we need to turn it. Or if you do pyrography, you need your picture to be a portrait orientation, not a landscape orientation, because the plywood that we work with has a portrait orientation because wood fibers go along the short side. You can turn your picture in PyroPrinter program or just in Photoshop. Just go to the main parameters, click Image, Image Rotation and choose the angle you want. It can be 19 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise. Note that you can draw in a new layer because you can remove or fix it later on. Some of the beginners do it wrong and start drawing on the picture itself without creating a new layer. On the picture we can't draw because we can't remove it if we need to. If you accidentally did it, go to the History tab and undo the changes, but try to do it the right way from the start. One more thing that I wanted to tell you. Let's hide all layers except our picture. There are some filters that can be applied inside of the chosen layer. I'm going to show you the one filter that we can clearly see. Go to the main parameters, click filters, choose blur and Gaussian blur. As you can see, we can blur our picture. Again, note that if you work with a layer and want to set the filter for it, make a duplicate for this layer. Just right click on the layer, choose a duplicate layer and click OK. Or you can just drag the chosen layer into the new layer sign. If you want to delete your layer, again, right click on it, choose delete layer. Or you can drag it into the delete layer sign as well. Now I'm going to explain how to save the image. In earlier version of Pyro Printer, you had to save your image black and white using grayscale. Now, after update, it is not necessary, but very convenient because you need to click only one button. Go to the main parameters, click image and choose mode and grayscale. Click OK. As you can see, we have black and white picture. Now we need to save it. By default, it recommends you to save it in Photoshop format. It gives you the possibility to return to your project and change something. I will show you later. And now let's choose the format for our picture. You can choose either BMP or JPEG now, because as I have already said, the old version of Pyro Printer could only read BMP format with depth of 8-bit. Now the printer can read JPEG as well, but I would still recommend you to choose BMP format because it gives you the best quality picture. If you still want to save your picture in JPEG format, make sure that you choose the best quality available. Now we can close the Photoshop and try to open the picture that we have saved in Photoshop format. As you can see, all layers that we created are here and we can change something if we need to. If I open the picture in BMP or JPEG format, all layers will be combined in one and unfortunately you can't divide them and change anything. You will have to edit your picture from the start or try to change the finished picture. Also you can see that the layer is locked. You need to go to the main parameters, click image, choose mode and grayscale. Even if we have already chosen it before saving, you need to do it once again. Now you can click on the little locker and work with the picture as usual.